All right, what's up, and welcome back to the PCC podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about my favorite thing in the world, which is mindset, and specifically one mindset trick that is going to really boost your motivation and your internal drive to get after your goals. First of all, I do want to ask if you are listening to episode 99 right now, and you listen weekly or you listen regularly and you have been a loyal listener of the podcast for a while, please send me a message with any fun ideas that you think we could do for episode 100. I've been racking my brain on this and I would love to, just do something special for that episode, whether that's like a Q&A or like running a little giveaway. I'm not sure, but either way, I think it'd be fun. So send me a message if you have any suggestions. So today we're going to talk about this mindset trick that honestly, I just catch a lot with clients. So I have noticed this particular pattern in language that I think just sucks motivation dry. And that is, I need to. Okay, here's what I mean. I need to get my workouts in. I need to get my water in. I need to hit my macros. I need to get back into it. I need to be more consistent. It just feels like a drag, right? Like even just saying that. And if you know anything about me, it's that I am very peculiar and particular about language and the way that we speak to ourselves and about our health and fitness journey in particular is really what shapes our reality around it. And we'll talk a little bit about this in a second. But if you think about like what the statement, I need to get my workouts in, when I hear this from clients, I'm just hearing that it's implying have tos, like kind of like someone's forcing your will. I think it also implies a bit of shame, maybe. Like, I need to do this because I screwed up last week, I screwed up yesterday, or I need to get my ish together. And it just kind of signals like a lack of internal drive. It screams, I'm motivated by external things like a checklist, or I have to, or I need to do this. And how this really applies, right? Lots of different situations. So if you feel like you're in a situation where you have a ton on your plate when it comes to life, responsibilities, maybe kids, pets, travel, work, career, whatever it is, and you feel like you just can't add another thing, or it feels like a list of chores of like, I need to submit my check-in. I need to log my food. I need to make it to the gym, whatever it is. Or if you are trying to get back into it after a rut, maybe I need to get my ish together. I need to get started again. I need to get fit and healthy again. It's adding pressure to yourself rather than the alternative, which we'll talk about in a second. This also applies when you're not being as consistent as you'd want to be. So I need to be more consistent. I need to get it together. Again, you're seeing a trend in the language here. And I just see it on check-ins with clients all the time. And it's like the first thing that I will call out, because it's like we're trying to like mentally punish ourselves for having a bad week or making a mistake. The phrase, I need to, often comes after a reflection that isn't so positive, right? I didn't do X, Y, and Z. I need to do it this week, right? And it often comes after not following through to the degree that you wanted to. And so I want to explain, like, why is this problematic? Like, this might seem like, well, I mean, I need to, like, I really do for my health. And like, you could argue that logic to be true. Like, technically, a lot of us need to do a lot of things. We should definitely be healthier. We should definitely take better care of ourselves. But shoulds and needs and have tos, like, you can feel like the pressure that's applied there, specifically like just getting healthy overall, right? I need to do this. I have to do this. I should do this. I had a client once who still work with her actually. He got on a call with me. I remember it was like summertime or something like that. And we talked for a little bit, and she kept kind of saying like, I should lose weight. I need to do this, and she was kind of even alluding to other people in her life that had made some comments, and that she felt like she had to lose weight. She had to do this thing. And I eventually just picked up on this trend, and I was like, what do you want? Like, is this something that you even want for you? And she was like, dude, I don't know. I just feel like I have to. And I was like, well, you know what? You're an adult. You can do whatever you want to do. And I encourage you to really go back to the drawing board and reflect. What do you actually want for yourself? Stop putting pressure on yourself from external things and get connected to you. And when you're ready, you can come back to me and we can get started. But nothing good comes from feeling like you have to do something, like you're being forced against your will. Because none of that is actually true. Like, you are an adult. You could do whatever you want. Now I'm speaking to you, the listener. Like, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to do anything. It's truly your choice. So when you add that pressure with the needs and the shoulds, it's demotivating versus getting connected to your values. Okay, what are your values? What do you actually want? What do you actually care about? And when you connect to that, you now are operating from a place of, I want to do these things. And that's where motivation comes from. That's where inspiration comes from. That's where not having as much resistance or dragging your feet, not that there's none, but not as much resistance comes from being connected to your values, right? So really the thing that I want you to keep in mind here is when you catch yourself saying, I need to, I want you to switch that to, but why do I want to? And really ask yourself that question, like, but why do I want to? And sometimes it just feels like you need to, just feels like I don't want to do any of this. I just want to sit on the couch and eat potato chips and not care about anything in the world and just be fat and happy. And like, trust me, I've had those thoughts too. I'm like, dude, I don't want to do any of this. But really just take that second to go a layer deeper with yourself and ask, like, why do I want this? And go back to the why. Go back to, why do I want better for myself? Why do I want this long-term outcome? And root back to the bigger picture, root back to your values. And what you'll find is that if you dig long enough with yourself, even in moments of really low motivation, you will remember why you want these things. And when you are operating from a place of want, you are able to just take much more massive action and be a lot more consistent too. So this is just one example of the power of language. And I'll just kind of give you some background, like why am I so peculiar and particular about language is because this is actually something that was instilled in me from when I was a kid. I'm so grateful for this. I will pass this on to everyone and anyone that I can, and definitely to my next generation, is my dad used to really pick at my language. So if I said anything along the lines of, I'm going to try to do something, he'd be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So it's not happening? And I'd be like, what do you mean? He'd be like, well, you said you're going to try. So that means it's not happening, because trying implies not really putting your all into it and just implies failure. And so anytime I was kind of half-assing saying like, oh, I'll try to do that, I was really like forced to stop and really ask myself, like, am I doing it or am I not? And neither answer was wrong. That was a cool thing, was like, I had a lot of autonomy as a kid. So neither answer was wrong. I could choose yes or no, but there was no in between. It was, I have to pick, I am doing it or I am not doing it. Same idea. I hear this one a lot more with parents and kids is can and can't. So saying I can or I can't do this thing, specifically placing limiting language on ourselves, right? I can't do this thing. And really the precedent behind that was, why would we place limits on ourselves from such a young age, or just in general, right? It's not that you're bad at it or that you can't. It's, I'm choosing not to do this, or I haven't learned this well enough yet, right? Because at the end of the day, we don't know our capabilities. We don't know our limits. So to place that language on ourselves is limiting us from ever finding out. And that's not to say that, like, if I said I can't jump 4 feet in the air, like that immediately is like, oh, that's poor language. Like, you could definitely get a 48-inch vertical. Like, is that physically possible, realistic, practical for me? Probably not. Is that an example where I'm going to be like, no, Marissa, you're choosing not to work towards a 48-inch vertical? No, like, we're going to use some common sense here. But there is so much, like, just the act of questioning that. And what went through my head there was like, okay, 48-inch vertical. I know that like a lot of like basketball players, volleyball players, they have 40-inch verticals. it probably, there's a possibility that it could be possible for me. The amount of training and lifestyle change and centering my life around that one goal that it would take is probably not worth it in my values, in my wheelhouse at all. Don't really care to work towards that goal, but it might not be impossible. And so even just the act of questioning it can really break some barriers. And with a lot of things that we say I can't do this to in our daily life is like, really, like, we need to be questioning it. Like, I can't have one Oreo and just let it be one. I'm sorry, you can. And I heard this quote the other day that I really loved. It was that completely cutting out a food group is not, what was it? It's not, shoot, I forget what it was, but it was basically saying that cutting out an entire food group is delusion, and it is actually disordered rather than something that is something you should strive towards. So a lot of people say that cutting out a food group, oh, that's going to be helpful in moderation. Actually, it's dysfunctional, because if you have to cut something out, then it's leaning into that all or nothing, right? Versus if you just learn how to have the thing in moderation, then you are going to be more empowered and stronger in the long haul. Now, I got a little bit off track here, but essentially, right, we need to be questioning, like, I can't have just one Oreo. Like, yes, you can. You are choosing not to learn how to moderate yourself and going through the discomfort of failing over and over again in the process of learning how to moderate better, because it's harder than just cutting out the Oreos altogether, even though that always backfires too. So keep that in mind. And then one analogy that I really always liked is that with the try, another word that I really don't love is hope. Hope you have a good week. Hope it's going to be a good week. Hope you have a good day. What good does that do? Where am I placing my power? I'm putting it in just the universe, like no one else's hands. But really, like, I want to be an influential part of how my day goes. So what I say to clients is, make it a great week. Make it a great day. Have a great day. Not, I hope you have a good day. And trust me, my instinct, I catch myself typing, hope you have a great day all the time, because they might have just had a really bad week. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I really hope it's a good week for them. But I'm careful with that. And all my clients can attest, if they look back, like, they will not often see a hope in their check-in. And if they do, they caught me in a weak moment. So, but one thing about hope and try is, if you imagine being a toddler again, and you're going to kindergarten, and it's your first day, and your mom says, okay, sweetie, I'm going to try to come pick you up at 3:00. Hope to see you then. How are you going to feel? How are you going to feel? You are probably going to feel like, is she showing up? Like, I have no idea. The funny thing is we use that language with ourselves all the time. We use that language with ourselves all the time. I hope that I can get my gym sessions in. I'm going to try to hit my macros this week. So when we use language like that, it's signaling to our subconscious brain that it might not happen. And if our subconscious brain is in the in-between, then whatever the default setting is going to take over. So it really takes making powerful choices for yourself and using decisive language. Like, I will hit my macros this week. I will make it to the gym on these days. The more specific and the more definitive that we are, the stronger that our actions follow through. And it really just puts us back into a seat of control. And the term that I like to use to explain this is called the locus of control. There's a fun little 5-minute YouTube video that I love sharing with, like, my staff and my clients about this topic. Essentially, the locus of control is the way that you view your power. Do you believe that your actions have implications on your outcomes? Or do you believe that life happens to you? Things happen to you. Maybe you have some influence, but you don't have control. An internal locus of control is someone who believes that they have agency and that they're going to use words like I can or I choose not to. They're going to say I will and I do instead of I try or I hope. And they're going to say I want to or I'm going to instead of I need to. An external locus of control is someone who feels like the world is happening to them. And their default language is going to be, I'm going to hope that this gets better. I'm going to try. I can't really do that. I'm not good at that. I'm going to try to be better. And we're just placing our power in external forces except for ourselves. And so remember that a lot of times we're saying these things to protect ourselves. We're trying to protect ourselves from the fear of failure. But the thing you have to remember is that you're setting yourself up to be more likely to fail when you only use the word try or hope or I need to. And yeah, it hurts to say, I'm gonna do this, and then you don't, because that will still happen too. But it's worth giving it a go versus always living in that weird gray area where like nothing really happens at all. So just remember that your language is the most important thing that you can monitor. Honestly, I believe more than your food, more than your steps, more than any data that you could track for your health and fitness journey, I truly believe that your internal dialogue drives absolutely everything. And if you're not managing that and you're not influencing that, you're not taking control of that, that your success is only going to be short-lived. So give that a go. Replace hope and try with will and do and make, and use more definitive language. Shift from need to want to, and get rooted back in your power, and your motivation is going to skyrocket. Okay, that's all I've got for you today. A little bit of a shorter episode here. I really hope that you enjoyed this, took some value from this, and I'm looking forward to hearing thoughts or feedback. Feel free to send me a message. Like, I really mean that. If you're listening to this, send me a freaking message on Instagram. I would love to hear from you, who's listening to this, and be able to get your feedback for future episodes. And of course, if you are listening to this and you like this podcast, please leave a rating and review. I don't ask for this often. Honestly, I just forget. And that's really not what this podcast is for. But at the end of the day, I do want it to reach other people. And that's how ratings and reviews help us to reach other people, by having this podcast be suggested the more ratings and reviews that we get. Thank you guys so much. See you back here next week for episode 100, which is literally crazy. And thank you guys so much for listening, because I know your attention is your most valuable resource. And I'll see you back here next week.